Ever feel like some people just don't respect you, no matter how polite or reasonable you are? They interrupt, make passive-aggressive comments, or act like your time doesn't matter. But here's the thing, you don't have to put up with it. Today, I'm going to show you 5 powerful ways to handle disrespect without losing your cool, and by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to command respect without saying a word. Let's dive in. 1. The silent stare. A Stoic way to command respect. Have you ever been in a situation where someone disrespects you? Expecting a reaction? Maybe they interrupt, make passive-aggressive comments, or try to undermine you in subtle ways. Most people either lash out or shrink back, but there's a third, far more powerful option: silence. One of the most effective ways to handle disrespect without saying a word is through the silent stare. It may sound too simple, but trust me, this works. People who are rude or dismissive are usually looking for a reaction. They want to see you flustered, defensive, or angry, but when you meet them with calm, steady eye contact, refusing to engage in their game, the power shifts. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The silent stare embodies this wisdom. By choosing not to react, you deny them control over your emotions. Instead of arguing, explaining, or defending yourself, you let your presence do the talking. Why the silent stare works. People are uncomfortable with silence, especially when they expect a fight. When you don't respond the way they anticipated, they start second-guessing themselves. It forces them to sit with their own behavior, making them more aware of their actions. Imagine you're in a meeting, and someone keeps talking over you. You try to interject politely, but they dismiss you. Instead of fighting for attention, you stop, you lean back, cross your arms, and just stare at them, calm, confident, and unbothered. Within seconds, the dynamic shifts. Others in the room begin to notice. The person who was dominating the conversation suddenly feels uncomfortable, stumbling over their words. Without speaking, you've reclaimed your space. Epictetus taught that, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. The silent stare isn't about passive aggression, it's about self-control. It sends a clear message: I see what you're doing, but I refuse to engage on your terms. Mastering the art of non-reaction. Holding your ground in silence does more than make others rethink their behavior. It builds your own sense of power. Too often, we feel the need to explain ourselves, to prove our worth, or to defend against negativity. But true confidence doesn't need validation. The more you practice the silent stare, the more you reinforce to yourself that you don't owe anyone an emotional reaction. Seneca wisely noted, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." Every moment of disrespect is an opportunity to refine your inner strength. Instead of reacting emotionally, use the silent stare as a tool of quiet defiance, one that commands respect without ever raising your voice. A challenge for you. Next time someone tries to test your patience, resist the urge to explain, argue, or react emotionally. Instead, pause, take a deep breath, and hold their gaze. Let the silence speak for itself. Because sometimes, the strongest statement you can make is saying nothing at all. 2. Embrace silence as your answer. The Stoic power of non-reaction. Silence is often misunderstood. Many perceive it as weakness, passivity, or even submission. But to the Stoics, silence was one of the most profound demonstrations of strength. As Marcus Aurelius once wrote in Meditations, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." When faced with disrespect, the most powerful response is often no response at all. In today's world, people are conditioned to react, whether in person or online. We are expected to defend, explain, argue, or retaliate. But what if true power lies in restraint? What if refusing to engage in negativity is not an act of avoidance, but an assertion of self-control? Why silence dismantles disrespect. Disrespect thrives on attention. Those who belittle others often do so for a reaction. They want to provoke anger, force an explanation, or create a spectacle. But when met with silence, they are denied the satisfaction they seek. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher who taught that we control our responses but not external events, said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Silence is not a passive act, it is an intentional refusal to engage. It sends a clear message: I will not allow you to dictate my emotions. Think of a fire. Without fuel, it burns out. A person who thrives on confrontation needs your energy to sustain their behavior. But when you respond with silence, you starve them of power. They are left alone with their words, forced to confront the emptiness of their actions. A real-world example of the power of silence. Imagine a coworker who constantly makes subtle insults disguised as jokes. They mock your choices, question your decisions, and expect you to react, because that reaction validates their words. But instead of defending yourself or firing back, you simply pause, look at them, and say nothing. The moment stretches. The tension builds. Without your response, their words lose impact, like an arrow that never finds its mark. This is where silence becomes a mirror. It forces the other person to see themselves clearly, without the distraction of your reaction. Seneca, a master of Stoic thought, once advised, if a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable. Many who disrespect others do so unconsciously, without purpose or reflection. But when faced with silence, they are forced to examine their own motivations. How silence strengthens your inner peace. Beyond disarming others, practicing silence benefits you. It shifts your focus away from unnecessary battles and allows you to conserve energy for things that truly matter. Engaging with every rude comment, every passive-aggressive remark, is exhausting. But choosing silence? That is liberation. Moreover, silence teaches emotional detachment, a core principle of Stoicism. The world is full of distractions, provocations, and negativity, but the way you respond determines whether those things control you. The moment you stop justifying, explaining, or reacting to negativity, you regain control over your life. A challenge for you: the next time someone disrespects you, resist the urge to explain or defend yourself. Instead, take a deep breath and say nothing. Observe how they react. Notice how powerful it feels to own your silence. Because sometimes, the loudest statement you can make is the one you never say at all. 3. Stop explaining your choices. The freedom of owning your life. In a world obsessed with justification, there is a silent power in not explaining yourself. People often feel entitled to question your decisions: why you chose a certain career, why you declined an invitation, why you live the way you do. The expectation is that you must justify yourself to gain approval. But the truth is, you don't owe anyone an explanation for how you live your life. As Marcus Aurelius wisely said, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. B1. We often explain ourselves out of fear of judgment, rejection, or misunderstanding. But when you constantly justify your choices, you unknowingly give others power over your decisions. The moment you stop explaining, you reclaim your autonomy. The illusion of justification. At its core, the need to explain stems from a desire for validation. We want people to understand and accept our choices. But as Epictetus reminds us, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Not everyone will understand your path, and that's okay. Their approval does not determine your worth. The harsh reality is that many people don't ask why because they care. They ask because they want to judge, compare, or impose their own insecurities onto you. When you stop feeding into this cycle, you free yourself from the exhausting burden of external validation. A real-world perspective. Confidence through simplicity. Imagine you make a decision to switch careers, choosing passion over stability. The moment you announce your decision, people bombard you with questions. Why would you leave a secure job? Are you sure this is the right move? You might feel pressured to explain your reasoning, to outline every detail to convince them. But what happens when you simply say, because I wanted to? At first, this response might shock people. They expect explanations, not certainty. But confidence is unsettling to those who rely on doubt. By refusing to explain, you show that you trust yourself, that your decision does not require a public vote. Seneca once wrote, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you. Welcome those whom you yourself can improve." The people who respect you will not demand explanations. They will trust that you have thought through your choices, just as they expect you to trust theirs. The mental liberation of not justifying. When you stop explaining yourself, Something incredible happens. You gain mental clarity. You no longer waste time defending your path to people who were never meant to walk it. Instead of crafting responses to satisfy others, you use that energy to live the life you envision. This is not arrogance, it is self-trust. It is the realization that your life is yours alone. You are not a performer seeking applause, nor a politician seeking approval. You are the architect of your existence. A challenge for you. The next time someone questions your decision, resist the urge to explain. Instead, offer a simple, confident response, because I chose to. Then, let the silence speak. Observe how powerful it feels to stand firm in your choices. Because true freedom begins when you no longer feel the need to justify who you are. 4. Keep your distance. The art of walking away from disrespect. Let's be honest, some people are just not good for you. They drain your energy, cross your boundaries, and make you question your worth. Yet, we often hold on to these relationships out of obligation, guilt, or the fear of being seen as cold. But here's the truth. Not everyone deserves a front row seat in your life. Sometimes, the best way to handle disrespect is to simply create distance. I learned this lesson the hard way. Years ago, I had a friend who constantly made backhanded comments about my choices. At first, I brushed them off. Maybe they didn't mean it that way, I told myself. But over time, their words started to chip away at my confidence. I found myself second-guessing things I was once sure of. Every conversation felt like a test, like I had to prove myself. One day, after another round of passive-aggressive jabs, I decided I was done. But instead of a dramatic confrontation, I simply stopped engaging as much. I took longer to reply to messages, made fewer plans, and eventually, the friendship faded. And you know what? I didn't miss it. In fact, I felt lighter, like I had removed a weight I didn't even realize I was carrying. Why keeping your distance is a form of self-respect. People often feel guilty about stepping away from negative relationships, especially if it's family, old friends, or colleagues. But as Seneca wisely said, associate with those who will make a better man of you. If someone consistently makes you feel small, anxious, or drained, they are not your people. Think of your life as a house. Would you let just anyone walk in, criticize your space, and track dirt all over your floors? Of course not. You would lock the door. The same rule applies to your mental and emotional well-being. If someone is constantly crossing your boundaries, you don't owe them unlimited access to your life. Distance creates clarity. When you step back from people who disrespect you, something amazing happens. You start to see things more clearly. You realize how much of your energy was spent managing their behavior, dodging their negativity, or overanalyzing their words. Creating distance doesn't have to be dramatic. You don't need to make an announcement or explain yourself. You just shift your focus. Stop seeking approval from people who never truly valued you. Spend time with those who uplift and respect you. A challenge for you. Think about the people in your life who consistently makes you feel small, unworthy, or exhausted. Ask yourself, do they truly deserve this much access to me? If the answer is no, then maybe it's time to take a step back. No drama, no explanations, just space. Because the right people won't need to be chased, and the wrong ones won't be missed. 5. Hold your head high. The power of confidence in the face of disrespect. Let's talk about something we've all faced. Those moments when someone tries to make you feel small. Maybe it's a coworker who talks down to you, a so-called friend who always has a joke at your expense, or even a stranger who underestimates you at first glance. It's frustrating, right? The natural reaction is to defend yourself, to prove them wrong, to push back. But what if I told you that the strongest response isn't fighting back, it's holding your head high and refusing to shrink? I remember a time when I learned this lesson firsthand. Years ago, I had a boss who constantly dismissed my ideas in meetings. He'd interrupt, roll his eyes, and act as if my contributions were irrelevant. At first, I tried harder, speaking louder, explaining myself more, even seeking validation from others. But no matter what I did, he always found a way to undermine me. One day, I decided I was done playing his game. Instead of getting defensive, I shifted my energy. I walked into meetings with confidence, spoke clearly, and stopped reacting to his dismissive attitude. If he cut me off, I paused and then continued speaking as if his interruption had never happened. If he made a sarcastic remark, I met his gaze, smiled slightly, and carried on. And something unexpected happened. He backed off. It wasn't immediate, but over time, his attitude changed. Without the reaction he expected, he lost his power over me. That experience taught me an invaluable lesson. Confidence makes people uncomfortable, especially those who rely on intimidation. Why holding your head high is a game changer. People who disrespect others usually count on one thing: you feeling small. They want you to drop your gaze, to doubt yourself, to let their words sink in. But when you stand tall, meet their eyes, and refuse to shrink, you send a silent but powerful message. I know who I am. Your words don't define me. This isn't about arrogance, it's about self-respect. Seneca once said, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." Challenges will come, people will test your confidence. But every time you choose to stand tall instead of shrinking, you polish yourself into someone stronger, someone untouchable. How to apply this in your own life? Next time someone disrespects you, try this. Don't react emotionally. Instead, take a breath, roll your shoulders back, and hold your head high. Meet their gaze without fear. Carry yourself with quiet strength. It might feel unnatural at first, but trust me, when you stop seeking validation and start owning your worth, everything shifts. Confidence isn't just about posture, it's a mindset. And the moment you decide that no one has the power to make you feel small, you become truly unstoppable. Now that you know how to handle disrespect, which strategy do you think works best? The silent stare, keeping your distance, or something else? Drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you found this helpful, check out my next video where I break down the best ways to set boundaries like a pro. Click here to watch it now. And hey, if you haven't already, don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss a video. See you next time.